10 years ago, giant creatures called Kaiju emerged from a rift opened by an alien civilization known as the Precursors and attacked humanity. To prevent the extinction of the species, humans built giant war machines called Jaegers. In the final battles, Commander Stacker sacrifices his own Jaeger to save humanity. He enters the rift, detonates his machine, closes the breach, and ends the war. Over time, humanity recovers, but some coastal cities are still uninhabitable due to pollution left by Kaiju blood. Unlike his father, the war hero, Stacker, his son Jake is a small-time thief. He works with criminals and steals Jaeger technology from the government. When the team reaches the core of the machine they stole, they realize the power core is missing. The core was taken by someone else before them. Jake follows the signal, escapes from the police, and arrives at an abandoned factory. There, he sees a small Jaeger made from scrap parts. While examining the machine, he's attacked, but it turns out the attacker is a young girl named Amara, and Jake gains the upper hand. Jake sees this as a big opportunity, and despite Amara's objections, plans to sell everything. Just then, police sirens are heard and security forces approach the warehouse. Amara gets into the Jaeger she calls Scrapper and starts up the machine to escape. Jake also jumps onto the robot, wanting to be its pilot himself. Amara refuses, breaks through the building's walls, and escapes from the soldiers. She thinks she has gotten away, but her joy doesn't last long. A giant Jaeger with Ajax markings appears and demands that they shut down their systems and surrender immediately. Amara raises her hands as if she's surrendering, then throws several grenades to the ground. The grenades create a gas-filled area, hiding their position and giving them a chance to escape. The small Jaeger transforms into ball mode, rolls away from the chase, and enters a building to hide from the giant machine. Realizing they can't hide here forever, Jake suggests an extremely risky plan. He grabs onto Ajax's arm, climbs to the top of the Jaeger, drops one of the batteries, and stuns his opponent with electricity. Amara tries to use this opportunity to escape, but their Jaeger's power drops rapidly. Ajax quickly recovers, and the giant robot throws Amara to the ground. Even though the girl tries to run away, Ajax ends the chase and disables them both with electric cables. While Amara screams in anger, both of them are caught. They are taken to a holding cell. Jake is granted permission to meet with a high-ranking officer. The person who arrives is his adopted sister, Mako. Mako is deeply disappointed by what Jake has done. She says that he used to be a Jaeger pilot, but chose to leave everything behind and turn to crime. She gives Jake one last chance to avoid going to prison. He will return to the academy and help train the younger generation, including Amara. They go to a pilot training school on a remote island under Chinese jurisdiction. Here, they meet Jake's former colleague, Ranger Lambert. Lambert doesn't trust Jake and mocks him for leaving the military and turning to crime. As they head to headquarters, Amara is amazed when she sees the Jaegers on display. Among them are Redeemer and the massive spinning sphere of death. Also on display are Phoenix, which is operated by 3 pilots, and Athena, the fastest Jaeger known to humanity. Finally, the machine piloted by Lambert is introduced. The Gypsy, which has a giant nuclear core. Then they move on to the section where the candidates are located. Amara meets the team she will be training with, but has a hard time being accepted because of her criminal record. The situation gets even worse. The training sessions are unsuccessful. Amara keeps losing in the simulations because she can't synchronize with her co-pilot. Her poor performance lowers her standing even more in the eyes of the team, and Lambert starts to question why he's even here. At the same time, Levon, the owner of Shaw Industries, Mako, and the chief scientist, they arrive at the base together with Newton. They present their new invention to the military leaders. Among these are much faster units that don't require human pilots. There are also automated Jaegers that can be deployed instantly. The system aims to save the military significant time and resources by eliminating long and arduous processes like pilot training. However, not everyone is on board with this idea, because making the Jaegers fully automated would render pilots completely unnecessary. Mako is extremely cautious about this technology. In her opinion, these systems are vulnerable to hacker attacks and could lead to major disasters if they fall into the wrong hands. For this reason, she plans to vote against the company at the council meeting. At the same time, she wants her brother to accompany her with Gypsy. His mission is to prevent any potential threat that might arise during the meeting. Soon after, they arrive at the council summit in Australia. Jake and Lambert, while in the pilot seats, are brought down toward the area where the Gypsy protesters are gathered. Since Jake hasn't piloted a Jaeger in a long time, he struggles to maintain balance. Mako also arrives in the area by helicopter, but soon something strange is noticed. All the birds are flying toward them in a pack. It's as if they're fleeing from something massive. At that moment, a giant Jaeger named Fury bursts out of the ocean and comes ashore. As it moves forward without caring about the civilians below, everyone scrambles to save themselves. This out-of-control machine opens fire directly at the helicopter. The missiles narrowly miss and head toward Shingani. Jake escapes the attack at the last moment, but huge explosions occur in the buildings behind. A helicopter pad on a skyscraper breaks off and falls down. Jining catches the massive concrete block at the last moment, saving Levon and the nearby civilians. At the same time, Mako recognizes something familiar in the enemy's power signature. He senses something and tries to warn Jake over the radio. But Fury cuts off all signals in the area, completely disabling communication. When the enemy Jaeger leaves itself open for a brief moment, Jining hurls the helicopter pad at its head and launches an attack. But Fury counters, throwing Qingjin into a building. Then, with a powerful uppercut, Fury sends the Jaeger flying through the air. Continuing his assault, Fury tosses Qingjini around like a rag doll, slamming him into buildings and hurling him back with a violent explosion. Jingan regains his composure and draws his sword from his arsenal. But his opponent counters with two blades, attacking furiously and gaining the upper hand. Jinjane is completely overwhelmed as he tries to dodge his opponent's attacks. Jaeger keeps getting tossed around, pummeled repeatedly. Suddenly, one of the enemy's attacks misses, and the downward swinging blade gets stuck in a building. Seizing the opportunity, Janine fires his elbow rocket and blasts Fury backward. But Fury quickly strikes back. He uses his missiles again. The surrounding buildings shake from the explosions, and one of the attacks hits the helicopter where Mako is. The helicopter spins out of control and starts plummeting toward the ground. Seeing his sister in danger, Jake uses Jaeger's most powerful weapon. He lifts dozens of cars suspended in the air with magnetic force and hurls them at Fury with tremendous power. This attack brings the enemy down. Gypsy wastes no time, turns around and runs toward the falling helicopter. At the last moment, Mako manages to send a brief message to headquarters. Jake lunges with all his might, but he can't reach the helicopter. The vehicle crashes to the ground and shatters in a massive explosion. Seeing the explosion, Jake screams Mako's name and runs into the flames. He refuses to accept that she's dead. Meanwhile, Fury approaches the fallen Gypsy, preparing to finish the job. But when he notices the other Jaegers approaching the area, he retreats and disappears into the ocean. Jake is devastated when he sees Mako's photo in the Hall of Heroes. But he can't mourn, because he's called to an emergency meeting about the message Mako sent. Even though the signals were jammed, part of the message was received. Doctor? Herman deciphers the message by organizing the data and reveals the GPS location of a decommissioned Jaeger production facility in Siberia. Jake decides to go there immediately to avenge Mako and uncover the truth behind the attacks. At the same time, following the attack on the council, Shaw Industries is granted full authority to deploy unmanned Jaegers in the field. Levon orders Newton to have all the Jaegers within 2 days. As the giant machines gather at the factory, Newton returns to Evine after a long day. There, he talks to his imaginary lover. This lover is a Kaiju brain he has named Alice. Newton merges his mind with this alien being, and it becomes clear that this has been going on for a long time. Gypsy arrives at the decommissioned Jaeger facility in Siberia and detects strange signals on their radar. Just then, a barrage of missiles is launched at them. As the missiles hit Gypsy, the facility is destroyed in explosions. It turns out that Fury is behind the attack. Without hesitation, Gypsy attacks, knocks the enemy to the ground, and together they tumble down a massive cliff after a series of blows. Both Jaegers crash onto the icy terrain. Fury quickly recovers and fires a powerful laser from its chest. Jake manages to escape the attack by breaking the ice beneath her. As Fury approaches to check, a missile bursts out from under the ice and hurls him into the water. Taking advantage of the opportunity, Gypsy goes on the offensive, drags Fury to the surface, and knocks him back with a plasma cannon. The enemy gets back on its feet again. The two giant machines draw their swords. Gypsy dodges the attacks and strikes back, severely wounding Fury in the chest. Seeing that his opponent is weakened, Gypsy continues the assault. And finally, he defeats Fury. He opens a hole in Fury's chest, removes the power core, and ends the battle. Fury collapses to the ground. Gypsy tears apart the control section, but there is no pilot inside. There is only an organic structure resembling a brain. The remains are taken to headquarters. Dr. Herman confirms that the samples closely resemble kaiju brains. However, these tissues do not contain radiation from another universe. So these aren't aliens, they were created by humans. It's also discovered that most of the technology used is identical to that of Shaw Industries. Herman prepares to confront Newton, who has access to all the production records. At the same time, a large number of Li Wen's unmanned Jaegers begin to arrive at the base. The goal is defense, but soon malfunctions start to occur. Organic tissue bursts out from their heads and the Jaegers transform into kaiju hybrids, destroying everything in their path. Giant kaiju reach the base and, targeting all Jaegers without pilots, unleash massive destruction. At the same time, Herman finally finds Newton and desperately warns him about the deadly drones belonging to their companies. Herman suspects that Levy has been planning this from the very beginning and asks Newton for help to stop the machines. They enter the control center, and they evacuate all the scientists inside. But soon after, Herman realizes something is wrong, because Newton has started activating even more drones. All around the world, kaiju hybrids rise from the oceans, combining their energy to create portals that open to the alien universe. The truth is revealed. Newton has been taken over by the precursors because he repeatedly formed a mental link with the kaiju brain. Just like 10 years ago, they want to wipe out humanity. Right at that moment, Li Wen arrives and opens fire on Newton. This move allows the others to escape. Li Wen immediately disables the drones. She breaks through the firewalls, restarts the systems, and destroys the kaiju brains inside the machines. The drones collapse to the ground one by one. The drones in the ocean near headquarters also shut down. The portal closes early, slicing a kaiju trying to get through in half. But the danger isn't over yet. 3 kaiju manage to come through the portals. These are Hakuja, Strike Torn, and the largest one, Raijin. The team analyzes their movements and realizes they're all heading toward Mount Fuji. Herman says the aliens plan to use kaiju blood. This blood can react with the elements in the planet's core and trigger the Pacific Ring of Fire. That would reshape the world and wipe out all life. Levin and Shaw Industries mobilize all their resources. The Jaegers are repaired and prepared for battle. The students are placed inside the giant machines and rockets are welded onto their backs. The Jaegers take off and rise into the sky, heading toward the enemies. Meanwhile, the giant kaiju have reached Tokyo. They leave destruction everywhere they go, toppling buildings and tossing people aside. The 3 kaiju regroup as they move toward the mountain. The Jaegers detach from the rockets and land in the city, stopping them. When Herman reports that all civilians have been fully evacuated, the team launches a joint attack. Athena draws her swords and attacks Hakuja. She slashes the monster repeatedly and sends it flying between the buildings with a powerful kick. Gypsy charges at Raijin and lands its devastating punch. But the kaiju absorbs the energy of the blow and hurls Gypsy to the other end of the city. The Jaeger narrowly avoids crashing into its teammate. Phoenix tries to attack with its massive weapons but gets tossed around like a ragdoll, crashing through buildings and slamming into Bravo. With no other options left, Gypsy uses its gravity weapon. It rips up buildings and drops them onto Raijin. It lands hit after hit, but the kaiju is still standing. Meanwhile, Hakuja tries to attack from behind, but Athena lands a hard kick to its face, keeping it away from her teammate. While everyone is fighting, Strike Thorn secretly attacks Athena, knocks her weapons away, and pins her against a building. Seeing this, Phoenix immediately opens fire. With a barrage of shots, it drives the attacker back. Bravo also comes out. Swinging his giant whip, he lands blow after blow on Hakuja, driving it away from Athena and hurling it between the buildings. Hakuja pretends to retreat, but shortly after, it reappears behind Phoenix and tries to set up an ambush. The students notice the danger. Phoenix opens fire with its cannons and forces Hakuja to retreat in pain. The Jaegers gain the upper hand, relentlessly beating the kaiju. They think they've won the battle, but Newton is watching from afar, and he prepares to release a swarm of drones from inside the buildings to help the kaiju. The drones climb onto the monsters and alter their biology. The 3 kaiju fuse together, merging into a gigantic entity. The resulting mega kaiju towers over all the Jaegers. With a roar, it hurls cars into the air. All the Jaegers attack together, but the Mega Kaiju slams its fist into the ground, creating a massive shockwave. They are all thrown back and crash to the ground. Bravo becomes the only Jaeger able to withstand the assault. Furiously, it charges forward and hurls its weapon at the Mega Kaiju. But the monster stops the attack, grabs Bravo, and hurls it into the buildings. Then, with tremendous force, it smashes Bravo to pieces. Athena also goes on the attack, but she is torn apart by the Mega Kaiju's tail and thrown off the scene. Phoenix throws its giant mace, but it doesn't work. The monster grabs Jaeger and starts tearing it apart piece by piece. Luckily, the students escape at the last moment using the escape pods. Amara also survives with her team. As the Mega Kaiju heads toward the mountain, Gypsy emerges from between the buildings, attacks with its sword, and knocks the monster to the ground. They try to stop it with the plasma cannon, but the Kaiju hits the Jaeger's head with its tail. In this blow, Lambert is seriously injured, and Gypsy is thrown back among the buildings. While Newton mocks humanity's failure and tries to get the monster's attention, the Kaiju ignores him and continues heading toward Mount Fuji. Jake, who doesn't have a co-pilot, is exhausted. At that moment, Amara appears and decides to pilot the Jaeger together with Jake. In addition, Levon steps in as well. He remotely controls Scrapper and brings a rocket for Gypsy. The rocket is launched and the Jaeger is dragged through the city. While Scrapper holds on with great effort, Gypsy rises rapidly. When the fuel runs out, it reaches the upper layers of the atmosphere and then goes into freefall. Gypsy launches the rocket and dives toward the Mega Kaiju in flames. Jake tries to grab Amara and use the escape pods, but the system malfunctions and they get trapped inside. At the last moment, Scrapper enters the Jaeger and creates a way to save them. It separates from Gypsy and saves them both from death. As the Mega Kaiju is about to reach the summit of Mount Fuji, Gypsy crashes down from the sky and hits with all its might. A massive shockwave forms and both are shattered. Jake and Amara survive thanks to Scrapper. The world is saved and they share the victory together. Sometime later, Newton is captured in a secret facility. Jake goes in and decides to learn everything about the precursors. He will no longer stay on the defensive. He will take the fight to the aliens' universe and attack the enemy on their own turf.